The prospector's cargo bay fell silent as the crew gathered around the alien object. Its metallic surface gleamed under the harsh industrial lights, the geometric patterns pulsing with that same unsettling blue glow. Sophia Chen pushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear, her heart racing as she circled the container-sized artifact. "We should inform headquarters immediately," Captain Rivera said, his voice tight with tension. The weathered lines of his face deepened as he frowned at the object. "This is way beyond our pay grade." Sophia ran her hand along the edge of her tablet, hesitating. "Sir, with all due respect, do you understand what this means? This is proof we're not alone in the universe." Dr. Kessler, the expedition's science officer, adjusted his glasses nervously. "The company protocol for unknown objects is clear. We secure, report, and await instructions." "The company will bury this," Sophia argued, stepping closer to the artifact. "They'll lock it away in some underground facility, and we'll never know what's inside." The blue patterns shifted suddenly, responding to her proximity. Everyone stepped back except Sophia. "Chen, get away from that thing," Rivera ordered, but curiosity pulled her forward like a physical force. The patterns reorganized, forming what looked almost like a handprint. Without thinking, Sophia reached out. "Sophia, don't." Kessler's warning came too late. Her fingers made contact with the recessed panel. A jolt of energy, not painful but intense, coursed up her arm. The artifact hummed to life, the blue glow intensifying until it illuminated the entire cargo bay in ethereal light. A seam appeared along the object's surface, and a portion of the top slid open with mechanical precision. Light erupted upward, coalescing into a three-dimensional projection that filled the air above them. Stars, thousands of them, arranged in a galaxy spiral, and one star, near the outer arm, pulsed with particular brightness. "That's our solar system," Kessler whispered, his scientific caution momentarily forgotten in awe. The projection zoomed in, focusing on Earth's position, then expanded again to show a journey, a path marked through the stars, ending at their current position in the Kuiper Belt. "It knew where it was going," Sophia said, her voice barely audible. "It was waiting for us." The image shifted again, revealing humanoid figures with elongated limbs and enlarged cranial structures. They seemed to be demonstrating something, working with equipment, building structures, their movements purposeful and intelligent. "It's a message," Sophia realized. "They're trying to teach us something." Captain Rivera backed toward the door. "I'm calling this in. Nobody touches anything else until we get orders." As he left, Sophia noticed symbols appearing alongside the projection, complex and flowing. They reminded her of mathematical equations, but arranged in patterns she'd never seen before. "They want us to understand," she murmured, reaching for her personal data drive. With quick movements, she connected it to her tablet and began recording everything. The symbols, the projections, the pulsing patterns on the artifact's surface. Kessler noticed and stepped closer. "That's against protocol." "Some things are bigger than protocol," Sophia replied, not looking up. "If they lock this away, someone needs to remember what we saw here." The data transfer completed just as Rivera returned. His face was ashen. "United Nations Space Command is sending a retrieval team," he announced. "We're under orders to change course for Luma immediately. Top priority. Full burn." Sophia slipped the data drive into her pocket, its weight suddenly significant against her thigh. Whatever this object was, whoever had created it, one thing was clear: nothing would be the same again. Humanity had just taken its first step into a much larger universe. The Lunar Research Station's containment lab hummed with activity as Dr. James Okafor adjusted the frequency modulator for the third time that day. Dark circles underlined his eyes, testament to 72 hours without proper sleep. Behind the reinforced observation glass, military officials and government representatives watched with barely concealed impatience. "Try 432 Hertz, Sophia suggested, sliding a cup of coffee toward him. He accepted it gratefully. The perfect day, why that frequency? "Just a hunch," she said. "I noticed the symbols pulse slightly whenever I hummed to myself during calibration." Dr. Okafor raised an eyebrow but adjusted the settings. The acoustic emitters positioned around the alien artifact activated, filling the chamber with a pure, resonant tone. The effect was immediate. The geometric patterns covering the object's surface brightened, and the symbols in the holographic interface began to rotate and realign themselves like pieces of a cosmic puzzle seeking their proper position. "It's responding," Dr. Horowitz exclaimed, rushing to her monitoring station. "Energy output has increased by 30%. The symbols settled into new configurations, more ordered, more deliberate. Several began to pulse in a distinct pattern. "It's not random," Sophia said, moving closer to the holographic display. "Look, these symbols keep repeating." Dr. Okafor nodded, his exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "They're establishing a baseline communication pattern. I think it's trying to teach us." General Yamamoto stepped forward from the observation area. "Teach us what, exactly?" "How to understand it," Dr. Okafor replied without looking away from the display. "It's presenting us with mathematical constants, universal values that any technologically advanced species would recognize." Sophia pointed to a particular sequence. "That's the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. Pi. And this one," she indicated another symbol, "represents the fine structure constant of quantum electrodynamics." Dr. Horowitz joined them at the display. "It's creating a Rosetta Stone for us, using universal constants as a foundation for communication." Dr. Okafor pulled up a simulation program on his terminal. "Let's try something," he murmured, entering a sequence representing the 5 Anak numbers. After converting it to the symbolic language they'd begun to decipher, he projected the pattern toward the artifact. The room fell silent as the alien device processed the input. Then, with fluid grace, it extended the sequence, displaying the next 8 numbers in the series before transitioning to a visual representation. A nautilus shell spiraling outward according to the golden ratio. "It understands," Sophia whispered. The artifact wasn't finished. It projected a new sequence, one that no one in the room recognized. "What is it showing us?" General Yamamoto demanded. Dr. Horowitz checked her calculations twice before answering. "It's a mathematical description of a stable wormhole configuration," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "It's showing us how to bend space-time." The implications silenced everyone in the room. This wasn't just first contact. It was civilization-altering knowledge being handed to humanity on a silver platter. As the scientists processed this revelation, warning alerts sounded from the monitoring stations. The station's long-range sensors had detected anomalous energy signatures at the outer boundary of the solar system. Massive objects decelerating from faster-than-light travel. Dr. Okafor and Sophia exchanged glances. The artifact wasn't just a message in a bottle. It was a beacon, and someone had noticed it had been found. The prototype hummed quietly on the testing platform. A metallic sphere no larger than a coffee cup surrounded by a faint blue aura. Dr. Horowitz checked the readings on her tablet once more, hardly believing the numbers displayed there. 23 terawatts, she announced to the observation room. Sustained output with 0 radiation and no apparent fuel consumption. The government officials and scientific observers behind the glass remained silent, their faces frozen in expressions ranging from awe to disbelief. This single device could power the entire eastern seaboard of North America indefinitely. Sophia approached the sphere cautiously. It's drawing energy directly from quantum fluctuations in the vacuum, harvesting the zero-point energy field itself. Essentially infinite power, Dr. Okafor added. And this is just the most basic application described in the data package. A soft chime from Sophia's terminal interrupted the moment. The computer had finished decoding another section of the alien database. She slipped away from the demonstration and returned to her workstation, where a new set of files had appeared. The color drained from her face as she scrolled through the contents. "James," she called softly, "you need to see this." Dr. Okafor joined her, his expression growing grim as he viewed the data. "Are these what I think they are?" "Case studies," Sophia confirmed. "Detailed records of other civilizations that received similar technology packages." The images spoke for themselves. Worlds in various stages of development suddenly accelerated beyond their social capacity to adapt. One sequence showed a planet's night side transitioning from scattered points of light to blazing brilliance as energy became limitless, only to go dark again within what appeared to be less than a decade. Atmospheric readings indicated massive radiation spikes consistent with global warfare. Another civilization appeared to experience catastrophic economic collapse as traditional industries became obsolete overnight. Social unrest followed, then fragmentation and regression to pre-industrial technology levels within a single generation. "There are dozens of them," Dr. Okafor murmured, "all following similar patterns." General Yamamoto noticed their distress and approached. "What have you found?" "Warning labels," Sophia said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "The alien device isn't just giving us technology. It's showing us what happened to others who received similar gifts." Dr. Horowitz joined them, her earlier excitement dimmed. "How many successful transitions are documented?" Sophia scrolled through the files. "Out of the 43 cases detailed here, 3. Only 3 species successfully integrated these technologies without self-destruction." The energy prototype continued to hum on its platform, suddenly seeming more ominous than miraculous. "There's something else," Dr. Okafor said, focusing on a section of encrypted data they hadn't been able to access before. "This portion is secured differently than the rest, like someone added it after the original package was assembled." Sophia attempted to apply their decryption algorithms, but the system rejected every approach. "It's not using the same logical framework as the rest of the database. It's almost as if it wasn't created by the same beings who made the technology package," Dr. Horowitz finished the thought. A new alert appeared on the main monitoring system. The energy signatures at the edge of the solar system had changed course. They were now heading directly toward Earth. "Whatever message is hidden in there," General Yamamoto said, staring at the encrypted data, "I suspect we need to decode it before those visitors arrive." The New York Stock Exchange suspended trading for the 3rd consecutive day as energy company valuations plummeted toward zero. Outside the United Nations headquarters, crowds swelled despite the unseasonable rain, their signs demanding either immediate access to the alien technologies or their complete destruction. The world teetered on the edge of transformation, and no one could predict which way it would fall. Sophia stepped onto the stage at the International Science Forum, aware that over 4 billion people were watching the live stream. Her palms felt clammy against the small control device in her pocket. "For centuries, humanity has dreamed of overcoming our physical limitations," she began, her voice surprisingly steady. "Today, I'm not here to share theories or promise future breakthroughs. I'm here to demonstrate what is now possible." She pressed the activation switch in her pocket. The gravity manipulation device concealed beneath her clothing hummed to life, emitting a controlled field that counteracted Earth's gravitational pull. With graceful slowness, Sophia rose 6 feet above the stage, hovering as gasps and exclamations erupted from the audience. "This technology doesn't defy physics," she continued, rotating slowly in midair. "It simply operates on principles we hadn't yet discovered. And this is merely the beginning." The effect was exactly as the UN communication team had hoped. Within hours, humanity's first flight trended worldwide, the image of Sophia floating becoming an icon of possibility rather than fear. Meanwhile, in a secured facility beneath the Swiss Alps, representatives from the world's major military powers sat in tense silence around a polished table. General Yamamoto placed his hands flat on the surface. The Chinese demonstration of the force shield technology was not authorized by the Joint Committee. Colonel Li Meiying's expression remained neutral. Neither was the American exploration of the weaponization potential of the quantum fluctuation device. "This bickering is precisely what we cannot afford," Dr. Okafor interrupted, having been invited as a scientific advisor. The historical records are clear. Species that weaponize these technologies first were among the fastest to self-destruct. The UN Secretary-General nodded, which is why we're implementing the Global Technology Distribution Accord effective immediately. Protests erupted around the table. This is a violation of national sovereignty, the Russian defense minister objected. No, the Secretary-General replied firmly. This is the preservation of human sovereignty. Either we move forward together, or we don't move forward at all. Back at the research facility, Dr. Horowitz worked feverishly on the encrypted data section, testing a radical new approach. Instead of using mathematical keys or physics constants, she began feeding the system information about human history, culture, and social structures. Why would this work? Her assistant asked, confused. Because I don't think this encryption was meant to keep information hidden from everyone, she explained. I think it was designed to be accessible only to species with certain characteristics, perhaps the traits that helped the 3 successful civilizations survive. The screen suddenly flickered, symbols rearranging themselves into new patterns. It's responding, she whispered, excitement building. Quick, add more data about human cooperative achievements, the International Space Station, the Global Health Initiative, the Antarctic Treaty. As the information flowed into the system, the encryption began to unravel, revealing fragments of a message embedded within the alien database. The first deciphered sentence appeared on the screen. If you can read this, there may still be hope for your kind. Sophia stared at the decryption terminal, watching as more of the hidden message revealed itself. Dr. Okafor paced behind her, muttering calculations under his breath as each new sentence appeared. The architects are not what they claim to be, read the next line. We are the wanderers, and like you, we once discovered a gift among the stars. The message continued to unfold as Dr. Horowitz fed more examples of human cooperation and cultural achievement into the system. It responded particularly strongly to examples of ethical scientific advancement and instances where humanity had chosen long-term benefit over immediate gain. How did they know what would unlock the message? General Yamamoto asked, watching from the doorway. They didn't, Sophia realized. They designed it to respond to specific values, not specific keys. If we had approached this with military strategy or competitive advantage in mind, it would have remained locked. The terminal chimed as a new section decoded itself, this one containing visual data. A holographic projection filled the center of the room, showing beings with elongated limbs and iridescent skin addressing the camera directly. If you see this message, your civilization has demonstrated potential, the alien figure said, its words translated through the interface they'd developed. The technology you have discovered is indeed remarkable, but it comes with a price few species can afford to pay. The projection shifted to show a massive crystalline vessel in orbit around a blue-green world. The architects have tested thousands of emerging species across 50 millennia. The Wanderer continued. They provide technological gifts and observe the results. Only those who implement this knowledge with wisdom are deemed worthy of survival. All others are allowed to follow their path to self-destruction. Sophia's blood ran cold. They're not benefactors. They're evaluators. Or experimenters, Dr. Okafor added grimly. The message continued. We discovered their true purpose too late to reject the gift, but not too late to adapt our implementation. Unlike most species who race to weaponize or monopolize the technology, we chose gradual integration and equitable distribution. This path, though slower, allowed our social structures to adapt without collapse. The projection shifted again to show a sequence of star charts, with dozens of worlds marked in red and only 3 in green. Of all species tested in our sector of the galaxy, only 3 survived beyond 1 century after discovery. The pattern of failure is consistent: rapid military application, economic disruption, resource conflicts, and finally, self-annihilation. Dr. Horowitz whispered, "They're telling us how to pass the test." The wanderers seemed to look directly at them through time and space. The architects monitor all communications from the artifact. They have likely already dispatched observers to your world. They will evaluate your species' response and render judgment. The final part of the message appeared, simple yet profound. The technology is not the test. How you implement it is. Choose wisely, for all our sakes. As the message ended, the research facility's sensors detected a new development. The alien vessels at the edge of the solar system had accelerated. At their current velocity, they would reach Earth orbit in 7 days. Sophia looked around at her colleagues, their faces illuminated by the fading hologram. We need to address the United Nations. Immediately. The United Nations General Assembly Hall had never been so crowded. Every member nation had sent their highest-ranking officials, and even traditional adversaries sat side by side in grim solidarity. The mood was tense but focused. Humanity facing its greatest challenge as a unified species for perhaps the first time in history. Sophia stood at the podium, the evidence compiled and verified by the world's leading scientific institutions displayed on screens behind her. The Wanderer's message played for all to see, followed by the tracking data of the approaching architect vessels. We have 6 days before they arrive, she concluded. 6 days to demonstrate that humanity deserves to survive. The Secretary General stepped forward. Dr. Chen has presented a proposal developed by a coalition of scientists, ethicists, and policy experts from every continent. We're calling it the Measured Progress Initiative. Murmurs filled the hall as the details appeared on the screens, a framework for implementing the alien technologies gradually and equitably, with careful consideration for social and economic stability. The Russian president leaned forward. This would require unprecedented cooperation between nations that have been adversaries for centuries. Yes, Sophia replied simply. That's exactly the point. A heated debate ensued. Some nations argued for accelerated military applications as deterrents against the approaching vessels. Others pushed for immediate economic implementation to strengthen global markets. The Chinese representative suggested destroying the artifact entirely and denying any knowledge of it when the architects arrived. Dr. Okafor rose from his seat among the scientific advisors. The historical records are clear. Every civilization that prioritized weaponization failed the test. Every society that allowed economic chaos to result from too rapid implementation collapsed. And the Wanderer's message suggests that the architects can detect deception. Sophia added, "What makes humanity unique is our ability to learn from others' mistakes. We don't need to repeat them." The American president stood, silent for a moment as she surveyed the assembly. "My military advisors tell me we could adapt this technology to create weapons that might defend against these architects. My economic advisors warn that controlled implementation will disadvantage our economy against nations that might cheat the system." She paused, then continued with unexpected conviction. "But my conscience tells me that if we take those paths, we've already failed the test. I support the Measured Progress Initiative." One by one, world leaders rose to signal their agreement. Even nations with historical animosities found themselves aligning on this existential question. By sunrise, all 193 member states had signed the accord, a feat of diplomacy previously thought impossible. Work began immediately. Instead of weapons or luxury applications, the first implementation projects focused on addressing humanity's most pressing needs: clean energy infrastructure for regions suffering from energy poverty, atmospheric carbon capture systems to address climate change, and medical technologies to treat previously incurable diseases. Sophia watched from the UN building's roof as dawn broke over New York City. For the first time since the artifact's discovery, she felt something new: hope. "Do you think they'll be convinced?" Dr. Okafor asked, joining her at the railing. "I don't know," she admitted. "But for the first time in our history, humanity is acting as one species rather than competing tribes. Whatever happens next, that alone is extraordinary." The crystalline vessels emerged from the shadows of Jupiter's orbit, their massive structures refracting sunlight in prismatic cascades across space. Earth's unified defense grid detected them, but remained in passive monitoring mode, a deliberate choice that had been hotly debated but ultimately approved by the Global Security Council. From the observation deck of the International Space Station, Sophia watched the approaching fleet with Dr. Okafor and the Secretary General at her side. 6 days of unprecedented global cooperation had transformed humanity's approach to the alien technology. Instead of chaos or military escalation, Earth had demonstrated remarkable restraint and purpose. "They're slowing," reported the tactical officer monitoring the sensor array, establishing orbit at approximately 100,000 kilometers. "Their formation suggests a non-aggressive posture." A communication request appeared on the primary screen, untranslated symbols flowing across the display. Thanks to their work with the artifact, Sophia recognized the patterns immediately. "They're asking to speak with Earth's representatives," she translated. The Secretary General straightened his jacket. "Open the channel." The screen shifted, revealing the interior of the lead vessel. The architects appeared as crystalline entities that seemed to exist partially in dimensions beyond normal human perception. Their forms shimmered and refracted, with complex geometric patterns flowing through structures that resembled both organic and technological components. "We are the architects," came the translated voice, resonating through the station's communication system. "We have observed your response to our calibration device." The Secretary General stepped forward. "On behalf of humanity, I welcome you to our solar system. We understand the purpose of your test and hope our implementation demonstrates our species' potential." The crystalline beings communicated among themselves in pulsating patterns of light before responding. "Your approach was unexpected. Our predictive models indicated an 89% probability that humans would weaponize the technology within the first 3 standard cycles. We learned from the experiences of others," Sophia explained, stepping forward. "The Wanderer's message helped us understand what was truly being tested." The lead architect's form shifted, its crystalline structure reconfiguring. "The Wanderers. You accessed their embedded communication." "Yes," Dr. Okafor confirmed. "Their warning proved crucial to our understanding." "Interesting," the architect responded. "Few species have successfully decrypted that message. Fewer still have heeded its advice." The Secretary General gestured toward the observation window, where Earth hung in the void. "We've begun implementing the technologies to address our greatest challenges: environmental degradation, resource scarcity, disease. We chose to advance gradually rather than disrupt our social structures overnight." The architects conferred again, their crystalline bodies resonating in complex harmonies. "Our historical data shows this approach correlates with long-term species survival," the lead architect finally stated. "However, we have never observed a species deliberately choosing such restraint after analyzing the failures of others. This behavior pattern was not accounted for in our evaluation metrics." Sophia felt a glimmer of hope. "Does that mean we've passed your test?" The crystalline being's form pulsed with inner light. "It means, Engineer Chen, that you have redefined it. The test continues, but on parameters we had not previously considered." 3 months after first contact, the great hall of the architect vessel hummed with an energy that seemed to resonate on multiple planes of existence. Earth's delegation, scientists, diplomats, and cultural representatives from every continent, stood before the assembly of conscious kinds, 12 distinct species that had passed the architect's tests over the millennia. Sophia recognized the Wanderers immediately, their iridescent skin and elongated limbs matching the holographic message that had guided humanity's response. They inclined their heads slightly in acknowledgement, a gesture that transcended species boundaries. The lead architect's crystalline form shimmered as it addressed the gathering. "For 50,000 years, we have tested emerging intelligences across this sector of the galaxy. Our purpose: to identify species capable of wielding advanced technology without self-destruction." Images appeared in the air around them. Worlds flourishing, worlds burning, the long history of the architect's experiments displayed in vivid detail. Humanity's response has required us to reconsider our evaluation criteria. The architect continued. No previous species has studied the historical failures of others and deliberately designed implementation protocols to avoid those specific pitfalls. Dr. Okafor stepped forward. We call it learning from history. It's a fundamental aspect of human scientific progress. Yet you applied this principle not just to technical knowledge but to ethical implementation, observed a Wanderer representative. This demonstrates a metacognitive capacity we have rarely observed. The Secretary-General addressed the Assembly with quiet dignity. Our history is filled with examples of technologies that advanced faster than our wisdom to use them responsibly. We nearly destroy ourselves several times before we ever received your test. Perhaps those experiences prepared us to recognize the pattern. A murmur of communication passed through the gathered species, some using sound, others light, still others methods that human senses couldn't perceive. We have reached a consensus, announced the lead architect. Humanity will be welcomed into the assembly of conscious kinds, not merely as another successful test subject, but as contributors to our evaluation methodology itself. The Wanderer representative elaborated. Your species has identified a blind spot in the architect's testing protocol. The value of learning from others' experiences rather than merely one's own. This quality may prove essential in guiding future emerging civilizations. The implications were staggering. Humanity would not only join the galactic community, but would help reshape how future civilizations were evaluated and welcomed. As the ceremony concluded, Sophia found herself standing before the ornate viewing portal of the architect vessel, Earth visible as a blue jewel against the blackness of space. Dr. Okafor joined her, his expression thoughtful. When we found that artifact in the Kuiper Belt, she said quietly, I never imagined it would lead to this. The truly shocking future, he replied, wasn't in the technology itself. Sophia nodded. It was in discovering that humanity's greatest strength isn't our intelligence or our technology, but our capacity to learn from others and choose a different path, he finished. Below them, Earth continued its silent rotation. Already, the carefully implemented alien technologies were healing centuries of damage, extending human potential while preserving the social bonds that defined humanity. The stars were no longer distant lights but potential destinations, and humanity would journey to them, not as conquerors or mere survivors, but as teachers with a unique lesson to share.